Right, I've got to be a bit quiet because everybody's in bed. Well, Mark's gone to work. And I'm going to do this, but I'm going to have the pictures as footage I took of bath when I couldn't sleep. And we got up and we went into bath at about 5:30 in the morning, and there was no tourists, and so there's some really good video of bath without people, because it's really difficult to hold a phone and look at a book and read, and I'm just struggling, and the phone it's even doing it now. The phone's falling about all over the place. Anyway, I'm going to look at some of the notes. I'm only like a few pages in. The Archetypes and the Collective Unconscious, or what you'd probably call it now, The Architects and the Twinkly Sky Water by Carl Jung. Obviously got the idea to read this by Thomas. So I'm going to have a look at some of the notes. I thought every now and again I'd do a little bit of the notes that I've been writing down, or just quote some of the bits that I thought were really good. So we start off with page 16. What have I got written down here? Let's have a look. Page 16. So I wrote down something that he wrote. So just thinking about that on a not very deep level. What is our natural inheritance? Autonomy of our bodies, maybe. Freedom in everything. To be allowed to naturally evolve. Some people think we haven't anyway. There's this thing where DNA has actually got scars on it, and that could only ever happen if it had been messed about with. So has our natural inheritance already been dissipated in more ways than we realise? So our natural inheritance, freedom, body autonomy, to be allowed to evolve or not evolve naturally, maybe. We don't need a heads up from somebody splicing into our DNA, thanks. Don't really need a robotic brain. I'm good, thanks. So when our inheritance has been dissipated, then the spirit too has descended from its fiery height. So spirit, obviously, hopefully, is what transcends this earthly realm. And if spirit has descended from its fiery heights, what's it descended into? Fiery pits? It's interesting because, you know, we see the fiery pits of hell, don't we? But he talks about the fiery heights. So our spirit, when it's doing what it's supposed to do, and when it's evolving and it's being at its best, is in its fiery heights. Whereas we've sort of like turned that on its head, haven't we, with Christianity? We sort of say plunged into the fiery depths. I thought that was quite interesting. So he literally says fiery heights, whereas we see the fiery depths, don't we? And then he does literally say something about Luciferian. So after that he says, when the spirit becomes heavy, it turns to water. Now I've been thinking a lot about water, haven't I? I had an awful lot of thoughts about water, and how I've got this silly little video about water, and how there's something going on with water. And, you know, I think, and now I talk about the twinkly sky water, is water got something to do with our collective unconscious? Is water, I mean, obviously we've seen those experiments that doctor, whatever his name is, did, where he turns the ice crystals to hate or love depending on what words he sticks on them. Some people say that's not true, but anyway. You know, is water, because everything's got water in it, hasn't it? Is water the carrier of consciousness? I mean, I said I wanted to do that little spell, didn't I, where if we were like in the shower, or we were just like really trying to imagine every single water droplet, and then try and put our intent of stopping this nonsense, and the water would go down the plug hole, and then it would go to the sea, or it would eventually go back up into the rain, and then come back down on us, and then we'd all be covered in positive intent that we'd put into the water. But this says, when the spirit becomes heavy, it turns to water. So it was fire, and then it turns to water. So what does that symbolise then? And then he says, and with Luciferian presumption, the intellect usurps the seat where once the spirit was enthroned. Luciferian presumption, the intellect usurps the seat where once the spirit was enthroned. That's well, we sort of get that, don't we? I mean, the thing that's going on with that at the moment is I love science, innit? Academia. Can't slag off academia too much. Mark's an academic. He's not a tosser. But I love science business. That's what that's going on about at the moment, isn't it? Where everybody puts their faith in... Well, to be fair, they don't even put their faith in science. They put their faith in my favourite thing in the world, the Swedish doomed potato. I mean, she's not a bloody academic, is she? But because she aligned... So you don't even have to be an academic. You just got to align yourself with an academic and be very angry and short. And that has usurped the spirit, hasn't it? People aren't going on their instincts. They're not using their insights about what's going on anymore. They're ignoring all of that and just turn into this bullshit science and the BBC. It's very interesting, this. The spirit may legitimately claim the... And then he goes off into like Latin words, I don't know what he's on about, over the soul. Not so the earthborn intellect, which is man's sword or hammer, and not a creator of spiritual worlds, a father of the soul. So earthborn intellect is a sword or hammer, and that's true, isn't it? Because they are hitting us over the head with this pseudoscience. They're hitting us over the head with facts which aren't even real, and that so earthborn intellect is man's sword or hammer, and not a creator of spiritual worlds, a father of the soul. See, I think we're making spiritual worlds with our little cafe meetups like Thomas does, and our little Zoom meetings, and we're changing the twinkly sky water by making our own little spiritual worlds. And I'm genuinely beginning to think that. And even, like I say, my son, who's like, Mum, you do chat shit sometimes. He's like, I swear to God, something's changing. He can't put his finger on it. And I say twinkly sky water, and he's like, shut up, and I'm not right. But he can't put his finger on it, but he's like, something's changing, Mum. And he puts it down to everybody's attention on the Afghanistan thing. I haven't even paid no attention to that. That's like white noises. It's just like another little buzzy fly that like doesn't deserve my attention. No, I'm not paying any attention to that. Just so obviously a little buzzy fly. So anyway, that's what he talks about. He talks about fire. So the fire and the water, and the intellect and the spirit. It's quite interesting. So no longer fire, but water. So our spirits are no longer fire. Let's think about that. Fire, burns things down. So he's not saying spirit is like pussy, wishy-washy, ooh, kumbaya. He's saying spirit is fire. And, fire's a great destroyer, isn't it? You're hard pushed to stop a fire when it starts getting a life of its own. And what does water do? Water puts out fire, doesn't it? Water puts out fire. Think about that. That's bloody good what he's written here, mind, I tell you. Oh, he knew a thing or two, I tell you that much for nothing. And if he can get through to my funny little brain, then he's not doing a bad job, is he? Water puts out fire. Makes so much sense. The fire's like a free spirit. You could say that about water, and I think I was, but I'm starting to look at it differently now. You know, fire destroying, burning down. And I remember this story Thomas said about there was these rubbish trees or something from abroad that just sort of sprang up everywhere. And so he burnt them all down, and then the natural trees of like the oaks or whatever started coming back. So yeah, it burns down, but in order to make room for new life. But then again, water's life. Oh my God, it's so difficult, isn't it? But water does put out fire. So the intellect putting out the spirit. I quite like that as an analogy. Fiery spirit has made a descent to the realm of nature. Now, I thought that was really interesting, because when I read this the first time, that was when I was banging on about nature's a bag of shit. Nature hates everything. Nature's rubbish. Nature, I don't want to evolve. Blah 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 blah. So I wasn't having a very good relationship with nature at the time. And then I read, fiery spirit has made a descent to the realm of nature, and it struck a chord with the stuff I was thinking about nature. I wish I'd have done this video when I actually read it, to be honest. So, that's enough for now. This is going to take a long time to get through. But so what did I get out of that? Fiery spirit has made a descent to the realm of nature. I just love that. I might have to do a painting about that. Spirit is no longer fire but water. Water is but a living symbol of the dark psyche. Oh, I forgot to read that bit out. Water is but a living symbol of the dark psyche. And I was revering water about a month ago. God, that's giving me the creeps. So it's the fire. Fire gods we need to look into, don't we? Anyway, that was just a little bit of nonsense. Me trying to get my head around Carl Jung. We'll try and do it together, shall we?